What is up, y'all? Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So in today's video I am basically gonna talk about, and I know you guys saw the title, I'm gonna talk about au pairing being a scam. I know you guys were like, what the hell is this girl talking about? Because we have a great au pair, she's amazing, this has been the best thing for our family, or vice versa. Like you're like, oh my gosh, my host family is amazing, I don't need like, I'm not complaining. Why would she say it's a scam? Does she not believe in this whole thing? So here's the thing, I have been an au pair for almost 4 years, and I've heard au pairs say this, and I've also heard host families say this. Now in the au pair world, it's not uncommon to hear people say it's a scam. I'm gonna explain why people feel this way. That way both parties can kinda understand. Also, this is my disclaimer, because I feel like by me saying this, people are gonna think that I'm saying I regret becoming an au pair, or you shouldn't become an au pair, or you shouldn't become a host family. That's not why I'm saying it. I'm just saying this is why people feel like this whole thing is a scam. Obviously, I did au pairing for almost 4 years. I'm so grateful I did au pairing. It's taught me a lot about myself. And yeah, I still encourage people to do au pairing. I just want to make sure that you go into it with every single thing knowing that, hey, I still want to do it or I don't want to do it, instead of being blindsided. The first part is the marketing part. So number one is marketing. When we are in our home countries, for example, I'll do au pair side and I'll do host family afterwards. But when we're in our home countries, agencies market it as if you're going to be on travel for 80% of your au pair year, and 20% you're going to be working and looking after the kids. Now, if you're not like me, I had people who had au paired, I had done my own research, and I always take stuff with a pinch of salt. Whatever people say, with every job I've had, I've always been like, I know this is amazing, but, you know. However, there are a lot of people that don't do that. They don't do their own research. They just believe what agencies say. And so they come here and they get dumbfounded when stuff happens. And so when we're in our own home countries, they tell you, oh, you're going to travel a lot, you're going to do all these things. And then au pairs come here and it's the other way around. Like, you do travel, but it's still a job at the end of the day. I don't care what they say, you still have to give your 45 hours a week. You still have to do it. And so when people come and they're like, oh, I just thought I would dabble, look after here, but I would be focusing on traveling. I'm like, it is a cheaper way to travel by like coming with this visa and everything. But it's still a job at the end of the day, so you still have to do stuff. Especially if traveling is like your number one reason why you're coming. They get you and they're like, oh, like you get a host family. Let's say you get a host family that gives you a schedule, for example, where you have to work on 3 weekends a month. You only get the one full, oh, the sun is gone. You only get the one full weekend off per month. And the office like, I can't even travel on the weekend, or like in the weekday. You thought you would travel in the week, but your schedule doesn't allow you to travel, or you just don't get offs. And then you wonder like why your au pair is frustrated. And same with a host family. A host family gets told, oh, you're gonna get this flexible nanny. They use flexible nanny, and host families think, oh, au pairs are going to be like on standby. I literally have had a host family that thought my life would revolve around them, and they would just like handle my 45 hours any way they pleased. And I was like, I can still have a life. And there's a lot of stories of au pairs having problems like that, where host families find out they're dating now, or like they're having too much fun, and they're like, oh, but you didn't come to have to do all these things, you came to look after my kids. Or when au pairs are like going out, in the sense of like, the au pair doesn't, even if their 45 hours is over, the au pair is like not in the house, the au pair is going to hang out with her friend, or she has a boyfriend now, that becomes a problem. But agencies told host families, hey, you're gonna have a flexible au pair. And so host families make schedules like, let's say you work from 6 till 8 in the morning, and then you pick up again at 12 till 2, and then at night you have to work, and then you off, and then at night you have to work again from 6 till 8:30. And au pairs are keep having a problem because you're breaking out their hours, you're sticking within the rule, and you making it as flexible. You not realizing, you just like, oh, they said flexibility, so you like putting her hours there, everywhere. And the au pair is getting irritated because she in her country was told, hey, you're gonna have this free time, you can travel, you can do all these things. Needs are not getting met, and that's why it becomes like, oh, host families were being scammed and au pairs were being scammed. we pay money as au pairs. We pay a lot of money to come au pair. We don't just come for free. And host families also pay a lot of money to have au pairs. And so both parties are paying this money and they expect a specific service. And so that also creates another feeling of I've just been scammed, because I put my money into this thing, and if you're not getting what you expected, it can feel like, did they just play me? Did they just want me to join, and then when I joined, it didn't? Now, I do, as I said earlier, this is not everyone's situation, but I've had host families and au pair say it. I've had a lot of au pair friends. I've been in the au pair pool for a while, so I've heard both sides say they feel like they've been scammed. The second thing that we get sold on, like the LCC part. When we're in our home country, we get told there's going to be someone within an hour radius that will come get you if you go through trouble, that will always have your back, that will solve problems with you, that will make sure, like, you know, you're safe, they got you, that whole thing. If your family's a psycho, that whole thing. And then you come here and, like, there are great LCCs. I've been privileged to have like 3 great LCCs, but you come here and then some LTCs have been familiar with those host families or friends with host families. There was actually a story I read on one of the au pair groups where the LTC was friends with the host family, and so legally, when I was looking at what the girl was complaining about, it was realistic stuff, you know, like she had valid reasons to complain, but because the host family was friends with the LTC was taking the host family side. And so we come here all on our own, and we depend on having an LTC to be good and look after you. And so this is not to bash LCCs, but there are some really terrible LCCs. They are great. Like, I've experienced great LCCs that know what they're doing and whatever, versus there's some really, like, when I hear some stories or see some stuff, I'm just like, wow, how is this person still an LTC? And host families, there's host families who have joined the program and have never heard from their LTCs until the end, or they get the basic mandate like every 3 months, takes 9 months, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I can imagine also as a host family, you hosting this foreign girl or foreign guy, and they're not doing what you expected. Let's say that au pair is just like partying or just doing stuff that is not what your household wants, you know, and you keep complaining, and like the LCC is just not doing their job. You could definitely feel like, oh my gosh, like, did she just rip me off, and like was nice in the beginning to get me to join the agency, but then it's terrible. Number 3. So with number 3, I am not saying that it's not true for some families, but this whole thing, you part of the family thing, I'm like, there are some people that take it literal, like we have the same DNA. And I know, like, I am privileged to have a great host family. I like feel part of the family, like we do stuff together. However, at the end of the day, they still not my family. I don't know if it makes sense. And so there are some host families that do trash, or like say, oh, you're part of the family, so we're not going to obey the 45-hour rule, or you're part of the family only when it benefits them. Same with au pairs. There are some au pairs that take advantage of host families. It's like, look, like some au pairs would just wreck host family stuff because, oh, we're part of the family, and just like, you know, like do stuff. Or when we're in our home countries, we get told we're part of the family. Then you come here and they don't want to travel with you. They want you to be done and go hang out like with your friends. They don't want you to have dinner, because there's really some host families that genuinely just want you to come do your job and go. They don't want the whole cultural exchange part. They don't want you to hang around. They're like, listen, it's your job. You the help. When you're done, leave, you know. And so there's that way, like, especially if you get an au pair that's big on like, hey, I want to learn the culture from America, and then you don't get that, and she's like, oh, but you guys say when I was in South Africa, I'm gonna be part of the family, or when I was in my own home country, I'm gonna be part of the family, and now you get here and you're like, not part of the family. That can be like a big thing. My fourth one is, I feel like this is not spoken about as much as I think it needs to be spoken about. Homesickness. Now, I have seen and maybe it's also because my second time around, au pairs went through this whole pandemic thing, but I have seen way too many au pairs, or just heard stories of way too many au pairs that have had like mental issues. And when I say mental issues, gone into like a depression or have anxiety, and it's been picked up in the au pair process because of homesickness or isolation or feeling lonely or struggling to make friends, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's also worse if like you maybe, let's say, you hardly speak to your family back home, or you live in a place that doesn't have a lot happening. Like if you live in a city, for example, I'm not saying you don't have these feelings, or like let's say you get there and you have a very active cluster group where you have friends or whatever. I found that in the peer world, people really struggle with homesickness, and I feel like there needs to be more things that talk about homesickness, or just more ways to help au pairs, because sometimes au pairs don't even notice they're homesick until somebody points it out, or they'll be like, oh, I'm homesick because I like was talking to my mom and I wanted to cry because I miss her so much. I'm like, yes, that's one form of homesickness. Another form of homesickness is if you just constantly, you are one that always like going out, you like going for a run, you like going to a gym, you like, you know, and suddenly you don't want to do those things. You just want to, the minute you're done, you jump in your bed, you want to sleep. Or like if your kids are at school, you go down, get your kids ready, come back, you just want to sleep, you just want to withdraw from the world. You constantly like in your feelings, in yourself. It's stuff like that where that could be a sign that you're homesick. It just may not be in the form of like, I miss my family. You just deep down, you do miss them. And so there's that. I feel like also they could educate host families to either notice when someone's really homesick, or just ways to help them. And I'm not talking about like financially. It doesn't even have to be financially. It's like, I always look like a tree monster in my house. I'm always like untidy, whatever. I'm not saying that is how you should go based on. However, if I walk out this house either on a weekend or when I hang out with my friends and I start to look droopy, like you know, just untidy, and that has never been how I've been. Whenever I left, I was always put together, you know, neat, pretty. But if all of a sudden I'm starting to leave the house like that, I would expect my host family to be like, hey, like in the most sensitive, nice way, hey, are you okay? Are you like homesick? Just here 2 hours to yourself, 1 hour. Like, are you feeling overwhelmed? Because it is overwhelming to be in a foreign country, go through everyday life things, and still get up and look after kids, because moms get tired. And it's like, we understand you get tired, but also understand that au pairs also get tired. Okay, number 5 is independence is one thing, and then protection. So I'm gonna talk on independence first. When agencies talk to us, especially if you're talking to somebody who's been in their town for a while, who's been sheltered by their parents, and they just want to get away, they just want a form of independence, I feel like agencies don't speak about how it can be a bit difficult coming from your parents' home into strangers' home in that sense, because they have rules. But what has been the problem with some girls is like, hey, I'm a grown up. Like, it's either in my mom's house, my mom allowed me to go and come as I want, and here in your house you're saying, hey, 8 hours before you work, we want you sleeping. And my thing with that is like, it's all good and well, like I genuinely understand, and I'd probably have the same rule if I was a mom. But at the same time, you don't know what your child's teacher's doing, you don't know what the doctor's doing, you don't know what people who are treating your kid or the bus driver that's driving your child to school is doing the night before. You don't know if she just got home, showered, and she came and picked the kids up, you know. So it's stuff like that. Or there's host families that say like, hey, we want you, even on the weekend, we want you home by a certain time, we want you in the house by a certain time. And so that, like, this is specifically if you have an au pair who comes and she was like, I just want a form of change, I want to be like, she wants a form of independence, and then she comes and you like, you know, you like, it's almost like she went from one thing to another, and it's the exact same thing. And so my next thing is protection. Au pair agencies promise you a lot of protection. They're like, hey, you won't have family here. And I'm grateful because I have an agency. Like, I'm really happy with my agency in terms of protection and all the things, the agency I'm with. However, some agencies don't. Like, au pairs have been in situations and they have to depend on other au pairs to help them get out, or they have to depend on other au pairs as families to get them out of situations. And when I say protection, I mean mentally, emotionally, physically. It's like those things where when you're in your home country, they say, no, if there's a problem, we'll come get you straight away. If there's this, we'll do this. You know, like, we'll look after you when you come here, whatever. And a lot of au pairs feel like once they pay their money in their home country and they come here, it's like they're left on their own. It's like they haven't heard from their agencies, or if they do, it's like once every 3 months or that. And it's also ties up with the LTC, you know. And so like, that's one thing I say, the reason I went to my agency, and I'll always blow their horn, is like, I've never felt like I'm on my own. Even if I don't go to clusters, or I've been in situations where, okay, I need my agency to show me why I went with them, and they've always come through. And so that's why when you hear people say it's a scam, and it's the same thing with host families, like there's times if you feel like your child's in danger or like such a certain situations and you just need that au pair to leave, you need an agency that's gonna be like, okay, if you call the agency and you're like, I need you to come get this girl and get her out my house, you need an agency that's gonna be like, okay, we're coming. She's not gonna be stranded, but she's also not gonna be in your house. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So I hope this video did not put you off, but it did warn you of reasons why either people say this can be a scam or can feel like a scam. And it's also just made you like, if you're going to be a future au pair or future host family, it just prepared you for what could happen. And I hope there could be a time in the au pair world where we don't have to discuss like stuff like this, where host families, au pairs and agencies work together. Because I definitely feel like agencies, their marketing, there's some words, the way they tweet their words can be misleading. Because I've had a lot of people, or just had au pairs that have said like, they just feel like this is a scam, this is not what they expected. Now they still say they still do it because it's like there's perks, and not even perks, but it's still like they still want to do this opportunity, and I'm still grateful I did it. But there's still things that I feel like we could just work on. That way host families are happy and au pairs are happy, and everyone finds the right match for their family. But anyway, enough for me. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do not forget to like, comment and subscribe. Also join our lives, because I'm trying to go live more often, at least twice a month, to ask these questions, and I want to create conversations between both parties. That way we can avoid either rematches, or we can just avoid like horror stories from au pairs. And yeah,